The last resort. The Araxian Grand Council chamber had never been so silent. 12 species, representing the oldest democratic alliance in the known galaxy, sat in a perfect circle beneath the crystalline dome that displayed the stars above. Ambassador Zilovex, her translucent blue skin pulsing with anxiety, rose from her seat at the center. "The Void Striders have taken the Proxima system," she announced, her voice translator barely concealing the tremor in her natural voice. "That makes 18 worlds in 60 cycles. The evacuation ships saved only 30% of the population." Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the holographic display activated, showing the advancing darkness, a cancer of empty space where vibrant star systems once existed. "Our best weapons barely slow them," continued Zilla, her 4 arms gesturing at the tactical display. "The Sentinel fleet has been reduced to less than a quarter of its strength. We have perhaps 3 cycles before they reach the core worlds." General Krav, a hulking reptilian from the warrior caste of Dronix, slammed his armored fist on the table. "Then we die fighting. The Araxian Federation has stood for 12,000 years. We will not surrender to this plague." "Dying with honor won't save our people," countered Elixmore, the insectoid scientist whose species had pioneered much of the Federation's technology. "We've analyzed every option. Conventional warfare is futile. The Void Striders convert matter and energy into their own form. They learn from every attack." The council descended into heated debate, voices overlapping in a cacophony of desperation. Only Elder Thomal, the oldest member present, remained silent. The ancient being, whose body had long ago merged with a mechanical support system, observed the proceedings with eyes that had witnessed millennia of galactic history. When he finally spoke, the chamber fell silent. "There is one option we have not considered," Thomal said, his synthetic voice reverberating with reluctance. "One species the Void Striders have not encountered." Ambassador Zilla turned sharply. "Elder, there are no spacefaring species unknown to the Federation." "Not unknown," corrected Thomal. "Quarantined." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Every member of the council knew exactly what he meant. "The humans," whispered Elixmore, multiple limbs twitching in agitation. "Surely you cannot be serious." General Krav let out a barking laugh. "The savages of Sol system. The species so dangerous our ancestors sealed them in their own solar system 5,000 years ago. That would be replacing one doom with another." The holographic display shifted, focusing on a small, unassuming yellow star at the edge of an unremarkable spiral arm. Earth, a blue-green world surrounded by a shell of automated satellites and defensive systems. Not to keep threats out, but to keep the inhabitants in. "I have studied the historical archives," Thomal continued. "Before the quarantine, humans were expanding faster than any species we encountered. They fought among themselves constantly, yet advanced technologically at an exponential rate. They were deemed too dangerous to join galactic society. Because they nearly started an interstellar war within a decade of achieving faster-than-light travel," countered Zyla. The quarantine was unanimous. Thomal's mechanical body hummed as he moved forward. "Yes, and in the 5,000 years since, we've monitored them from afar. They've unified their world, colonized their system, and developed technologies along paths we never considered. Their neural integration systems alone are centuries ahead of ours." "Only because they think differently," said Elixmore. "Humans are unpredictable, dangerous. Precisely why they might succeed where we have failed," Thomal replied. "The archives describe humans as tenacious, adaptable, and terrifyingly effective in warfare, qualities we desperately need." The council chamber erupted again, but this time Ambassador Zilla raised all 4 arms for silence. "The quarantine protocols are absolute," she said firmly. "No contact is permitted under any circumstances." "The protocols," Thomal countered, "were established to protect galactic peace. If the Void Striders consume us all, there will be no galaxy left to protect." His ancient eyes scanned the council, and when they finally reach Sol's system, and they will, the humans will face them alone, without warning. The silence that followed was profound. Zilla looked around the chamber, seeing the same realization dawn on each council member's face. They had run out of options. "We would need a volunteer," she finally said. "Someone to breach the quarantine barrier and make contact." "I will go," offered a voice from the edge of the chamber. All eyes turned to Captain Niren, a young officer of the Sentinel fleet. He stood tall, his green scales catching the starlight. "My ship is small and fast. I can slip through the automated defenses." "It's a suicide mission," growled General Krav. "The quarantine satellites will destroy any approaching vessel." "Perhaps not," mused Elixmore, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "The quarantine was designed to keep humans in, not us out. The protocols may have weakened over millennia." Ambassador Zilla looked to Thomal. "And if Captain Niren succeeds, if he makes contact, what do we tell these humans?" Thomal's ancient eyes gleamed. "The truth. That we need them. That despite our ancestors' fears, we have come to ask for their help. That the galaxy they were forbidden from exploring now stands on the brink of annihilation. And if they refuse," asked General Krav, "then we face the Void Striders alone, as we are now." Thomal answered simply. "But if there is one thing the archives agree on about humans, it is this: they never back down from a challenge." The vote was closer than any in the Council's long history, but in the end, desperation outweighed caution. Captain Niren received his unprecedented orders: breach Sol system, contact the humans, and beg for the help of a species that every spacefaring civilization had feared for 5 millennia. Captain Niren's ship, the Swift Comet, shuddered as it exited the final jump to the edge of Sol system. Before him stretched the quarantine barrier, an artificial shell of satellites, automated weapons platforms, and sensor arrays that had contained humanity for thousands of years. "Analysis complete," reported his ship's eye, detecting significant modifications to the quarantine system. "Many original satellites appear non-functional." Niren leaned forward. "Non-functional? Or replaced?" "Unknown, but I am detecting energy signatures inconsistent with Araxian technology." The implications were troubling. Had the humans advanced enough to tamper with the quarantine? Or worse, had they found ways to bypass it? "Plot a course through the least defended section," Niren ordered. "Minimum power, passive sensors only." The Swift Comet crept forward, a ghost against the blackness of space. Hours passed in tense silence as they navigated the ancient barrier. Twice they froze all systems as automated sentries drifted past. But after what seemed an eternity, they broke through. Sol system lay before them, bustling with activity beyond anything the Federation's monitoring had detected. The space between planets teemed with ships, stations, and structures of designs Niren had never seen. "By the first light," he whispered, "they've been busy." "Captain," the AI interrupted, "we are being scanned." Before Niren could respond, a dozen small craft surrounded the Swift Comet, appearing seemingly from nowhere. His communication system activated without his input. "Unidentified vessel," came a calm, human voice, speaking perfect galactic standard. "You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Niren swallowed hard. This was not how first contact was supposed to happen. The humans weren't supposed to speak galactic standard. They weren't supposed to have detection systems that could find his stealth craft, and they certainly weren't supposed to sound so unsurprised. "This is Captain Niren of the Araxian Federation," he replied, activating the visual feed to show his reptilian features. "I come with an urgent message for Earth's leaders." A pause, then, "Transmit your credentials and stand by." Minutes later, the escort vessels guided the Swift Comet toward a massive orbital station above the blue world of Earth. As they approached, Niren could not help but stare at the planet below. the birthplace of a species so feared that the galaxy had imprisoned them in their own solar system. The docking procedure was smooth and efficient. When the airlock opened, Naren found himself facing a delegation of humans, 5 of them, dressed in simple blue uniforms. They were shorter than he expected, with less visible differences between individuals than most species. "Captain Naren," said the central figure, a female with dark skin and silver-streaked hair. "I am Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Sol System." Naren bowed in the Araxian manner. "Admiral, I must speak with your governing body immediately. The matter is of the utmost urgency." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "May I ask why the Araxian Federation has broken its own quarantine after 5,000 years?" The question stunned Naren. "You know about the Federation, about the quarantine." A small smile touched the Admiral's lips. "Captain, did you truly believe we've spent 5 millennia staring at the wall of satellites surrounding our system without figuring out who put them there and why? But the monitoring stations never detected." "Your monitoring stations see what we allow them to see," Chen interrupted gently. "Now please, why has the Federation finally decided to make contact? What could possibly be important enough to break the quarantine?" Naren stood straighter, gathering his courage. "The Void Striders, a force unlike anything the galaxy has encountered, is consuming entire star systems. The Araxian Federation, all 12 founding species, faces extinction. Our weapons are useless. Our defenses crumble. We have come to ask for humanity's help." Admiral Chen's face remained impassive, but Naren noticed the other humans exchanging glances. "The Federation quarantined Earth because they feared what humans might become," Naren continued. "Now we need precisely what frightened them: your adaptability, your tenacity, your capacity for warfare." For a long moment, Admiral Chen studied him. Then she nodded once. "The Security Council will hear your plea. But first, Captain Naren, I think there's something you should see." She led him to a viewing chamber with a massive transparent wall overlooking Earth. But it wasn't the planet that captured Naren's attention. It was what orbited beyond it. Ships, thousands of them. Warships. "The quarantine was never as effective as the Federation believed," Admiral Chen explained. "We've been watching the galaxy for centuries through probes that slipped through the barrier. We've been preparing." "Preparing," Naren echoed. "For what?" Admiral Chen's eyes were hard now, ancient with a knowledge that chilled Naren's blood. "The Void Striders aren't new, Captain. They come every 50,000 years. The previous cycle, humanity fought them alone and barely survived. This time, we're ready." She turned to face him fully. "We've been waiting for the Federation to call for help. We just thought you'd come sooner." Unleashing the storm. The Araxian Grand Council chamber erupted into chaos when Captain Naren's report reached them. The holographic display showed images that defied everything they thought they knew. Vast human fleets, weapons platforms that dwarfed Federation dreadnoughts, and most shocking of all, technological innovations that had developed along entirely different evolutionary paths. "This is impossible," General Krav growled, studying the images of human neural interface combat systems. 5,000 years of quarantine, and they've advanced beyond our projections by at least 3 millennia. Ambassador Zilla's translucent skin had turned almost white with shock. "They claim they've faced these Void Striders before, that they've been preparing." Elder Thomel's mechanical body hummed as he processed the information. The human historical records speak of a dark time roughly 50,000 years ago. We assumed it was merely mythological, a collapse of their pre-spaceflight civilization. "And the quarantine?" Elix Moore asked, mandibles clicking anxiously. "They've known about it all along." Captain Naren nodded grimly from his transmission. "Not only known, they'd been slipping through it for centuries. They have observation posts throughout the galaxy. They know everything about us." A heavy silence fell over the council. Why didn't they break free completely? asked Ambassador Zilla finally. If their technology is as advanced as you say, why remain within Sol's system? According to Admiral Chen, they chose not to. Naren's holographic form flickered slightly. They respected the galaxy's wish to keep them isolated, even though they could have forced their way out centuries ago. General Krav made a sound of disbelief. And now, what do these humans want in exchange for their help? Nothing, replied Naren. They're already mobilizing their fleet. The first battle group will reach our space within 3 days. Admiral Helena Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Thermopylae, the flagship of Earth's first expeditionary fleet. Around her, the command crew worked with practiced efficiency, their neural implants allowing them to process information and execute commands at speeds that would have seemed supernatural to their ancestors. Jump complete, announced the navigation officer. We've arrived at the Araxian core world of Xanthos. Local space is clear of Void Strider presence. Helena nodded, studying the alien world on the main display. Beautiful with its twin moons and swirling purple atmosphere. A world that had never known true war. The Araxian greeting party is approaching, reported her communications officer. Ambassador Zila Vex herself is leading them. Open a channel, Helena ordered, straightening her uniform. When the elegant blue form of the ambassador appeared on screen, Helena offered the traditional Earth gesture of respect, a slight bow with hand over heart. Ambassador Zilavex, Earth stands with the Araxian Federation in this hour of need. The alien diplomat's 4 arms moved in a complex gesture of greeting. Admiral Chen, your arrival brings hope to our people, but I must confess, we expected more ships. Helena allowed herself a small smile. This is merely the vanguard, Ambassador. 200 more battle groups are following. But first, we need to establish a forward operating base and integrate our command structures. Of course, Zilla replied, though her confusion was evident. Our military leaders await you on Xanthos. The full Grand Council wishes to express their gratitude in person. As the human delegation shuttled down to the planet's surface, Helena was struck by the beauty of the Araxian capital. Crystal spires rose majestically from lush gardens, and the architecture flowed organically in a way Earth's more utilitarian designs never had. A civilization that had known peace for so long they'd built their world like a work of art. The Grand Council received them in a chamber of breathtaking beauty. 12 alien species, each more extraordinary than the last, regarding the humans with a mixture of hope, fear, and fascination. General Krav stepped forward first, towering over the human delegation. Admiral Chen, the Federation has monitored Earth for millennia. We know humans are warriors. We need to understand your battle plan against the Void Striders. Helena looked up at the massive reptilian general. With respect, General, before discussing tactics, we need to address the fundamental misconception in your approach. Elder Thomal moved forward, mechanical limbs whirring softly. Explain, Admiral. You've been fighting the Void Striders as if they're an enemy fleet, Helena said, activating a holographic display from her wrist device. They're not. They're a hive mind, a single consciousness controlling billions of drones. Conventional warfare is meaningless against them. The display showed a 3-dimensional model of what appeared to be a dark, swirling vortex surrounded by countless smaller entities. This is a void nexus, Helena continued. The central consciousness of each Strider cluster. Destroy this, and the drones become inert. We learned this the hard way, 50,000 years ago, when they nearly wiped out our pre-spaceflight civilization. The council members exchanged glances of shock and disbelief. If what you say is true, Ambassador Zilla said carefully, why did your ancestors not share this knowledge with the galaxy when they achieved spaceflight? Helena's expression hardened. We tried. The first human diplomatic mission carried warnings about the Void Striders. They brought historical records, defensive strategies, even the location of dormant void nexuses we've been monitoring. That's not in any of our historical records, protested Elixmore. No, agreed Helena coldly. Because instead of listening, the early council species feared humanity's aggressive development and warrior culture. They saw our warnings as a pretext for military expansion. So they quarantined us, trapped us in our home system, and left us to watch as the galaxy remained blind to the threat we knew would return. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. But you still came when we called, Elder Thomal observed quietly. Helena nodded. Because the Void Striders are the enemy of all life, and humans protect their own, even those who feared us. The tactical center aboard the Thermopylae had been expanded to accommodate both human and Araxian military leaders. The cultural clash was immediate and profound. These formations make no sense, protested General Krav, studying the deployment plans. You're deliberately leaving gaps in our defensive lines. Commander Jackson, Helena's tactical officer, tapped the holographic display. They're not gaps, General. They're killing zones. We need to lure the Strider drones into concentrated areas where our EMP weapons can disable them in large numbers. And these weapons, these spears of dawn, they can penetrate the void shields. Asked the Dronix commander skeptically. They don't need to, Helena explained. They create a dimensional rift that bypasses normal space. The void can't absorb what isn't there. Ambassador Zilla watched the military discussion with growing concern. Admiral, your strategies seem to involve significant casualties. The Federation has always prioritized minimizing loss of life. Helena met her gaze steadily. Ambassador, humanity learned long ago that in war, victory sometimes requires sacrifice. The Void Striders don't negotiate. They don't show mercy. They consume or are consumed. This is why the ancients feared you, Elder Thomal said quietly from his position near the viewport. Not just your capacity for violence, but your willingness to accept its necessity. Helena turned to the ancient being. And yet here we are, the monsters you locked away. Now your only hope. Not monsters, Thomal corrected gently. Just a different kind of sentient. One the galaxy may need more than it realized. The alarm klaxons cut through the moment of understanding. Void Strider fleet detected, announced the sensor officer. Multiple signatures emerging from subspace. They found us sooner than expected. Helena turned to the Araxian leaders. It's time to see if 50,000 years of preparation was enough. All ships, battle stations. The first engagement with the Void Striders shattered every combat doctrine the Araxian Federation had developed. The human fleet didn't form defensive positions or establish firing lines. Instead, they scattered in what seemed like chaos, small wolf packs of ships darting between the massive void drones. In the Thermopylae's Combat Information Center, General Krav watched in astonishment as the battle unfolded. This isn't warfare, he muttered. It's insanity. It's human warfare, corrected Commander Jackson without looking up from his console. Unpredictable, adaptable, relentless. On the main display, a squadron of human fighters executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, drawing void drones into a complex three-dimensional trap before the larger human vessels unleashed weapons that tore holes in reality itself. Dimensional charges detonated, reported a tactical officer. Confirmed 27 void drones neutralized. The drones are adapting, Helena noted, watching the tactical display. They're beginning to anticipate our standard evasion patterns, switch to contingency delta, and deploy the Ghostwalkers. General Krav turned sharply. Ghostwalkers. Helena's eyes never left the display. You're about to see why humans were considered too dangerous for the galaxy, General. From the belly of several human dreadnoughts emerged what appeared to be small, dark fighters. But as they accelerated toward the void forces, they began to flicker. One moment visible, the next gone. They phased in and out of normal space. Dimensional shift technology, Helena explained. The fighters exist partially in subspace, making them nearly impossible to target. The pilots are all volunteers. The neural strain of shifting between dimensions is substantial. The Ghost Walkers tore through the void formation, delivering their payloads directly to the heart of the enemy fleet. Explosions rippled through space as dozens of void drones collapsed in on themselves. The strain on the pilots, Ambassador Zila asked hesitantly, watching the battle. What does it do to them? Helena's face remained impassive. The human mind isn't designed to perceive 5 dimensions simultaneously. Most can withstand 3 or 4 missions before the neurological damage becomes irreversible. And yet they volunteer. Zilla seemed unable to comprehend this. To save billions. Yes, Ambassador. They volunteer. The battle raged for hours, but when the subspace distortions finally cleared, the Void Strider attack force had been decimated. At a cost, 17 human vessels destroyed, including 11 Ghostwalker fighters. In the aftermath, as damage reports flooded in, Elder Thomal approached Helena on the observation deck. This was merely a scouting force, he said, his ancient eyes fixed on the distant stars. The main Void fleet will have sensed the destruction of these drones. They will adapt, come in greater numbers. Helena nodded. Yes, but now we know something crucial. Our weapons work. The strategies we've spent millennia developing can defeat them. At what cost, Admiral? Thomal asked quietly. I observe your crew. They fight with a determination that borders on self-destruction. It's called courage, Helena replied. Something humanity has had to cultivate since we first huddled around fires while predators stalked the night. Thomal's mechanical body hummed softly. The Federation always wondered what humans would become if freed from the quarantine. Now I see. Not conquerors, as we feared, but protectors. Helena turned to face him fully. Earth remembers what it means to stand alone against extinction, Elder. We won't let another civilization experience that terror. The weeks that followed saw humanity unleashed upon the stars in a way the galaxy had never witnessed. Human fleets engaged Void Strider forces across 12 systems, drawing them away from populated worlds and into prepared killing grounds. The Federation forces, initially hesitant to adopt human tactics, gradually integrated into the Earth battle groups. On Xanthos, the Grand Council maintained a constant vigil in the war room, watching as the tide slowly turned. But the victories came at a terrible price. For every Void Strider destroyed, human ships and lives were lost. They fight differently than us, General Krav observed, watching the battle feeds. Without hesitation, without fear. Not without fear, corrected Ambassador Zilla softly. They feel it. They simply don't let it control them. A commotion at the entrance drew their attention. Admiral Chen entered, her uniform scorched, a bandage visible on her temple. Admiral, Zila exclaimed, we were told your flagship was heavily damaged. It was, Helena replied grimly. The void adapted to our dimensional charges faster than anticipated. We lost the Thermopylae and 9 escort vessels. Yet you survived, noted Elder Thomal. I was needed elsewhere, Helena said simply, approaching the central tactical display. The void forces are converging. Our probes have located their central nexus. She activated a small device, and the holographic display shifted to show a massive, swirling darkness at the heart of a dead system. This is it, she continued. The controlling intelligence. Destroy this, and the entire Void Strider invasion force becomes inert. General Krav studied the display. It's surrounded by thousands of drones. Even your Ghostwalkers couldn't penetrate such defenses. No, agreed Helena, which is why we're going to bring the fight to where they least expect it. She expanded the holographic display, showing a complex diagram that even the advanced council members struggled to comprehend. What are we looking at, Admiral? Asked Helixmore. A dimensional inversion bomb, Helena answered. It doesn't destroy the target, it inverts it, forcing it into a pocket dimension where it's cut off from our reality. Ambassador Zilla stared at the human leader. Such technology, the power requirements would be astronomical. Helena finished for her. Yes, which is why we'll be using a star to power it. Silence fell over the war room. You would destroy a star? Elder Thomal asked finally. To save countless worlds. Without hesitation, Helena's eyes were hard as steel. The bomb must be delivered to the exact coordinates at the heart of the Nexus. A suicide mission. Who ruled? Began General Krav, but he stopped when he saw Helena's expression. I will, she said simply. Admiral, no, protested Zyla. Surely there must be another way. Helena smiled faintly. There isn't, and I won't ask any of my people to do what I'm not willing to do myself. She looked around at the assembled council. This is why humanity was quarantined. Not because we're violent. Many species are. But because when faced with impossible odds, we refuse to yield. We'll sacrifice everything, even ourselves, for victory. Elder Thomal moved forward, his ancient eyes studying Helena. If your plan succeeds, and the Void Striders are defeated, what becomes of humanity? Will you return to your self-imposed exile? The question hung in the air. No, Helena said finally. 50,000 years ago, we faced the void alone and nearly perished. 5,000 years ago, we tried to warn the galaxy and were imprisoned for our trouble. Her gaze swept the room. The cycle ends now. Humanity belongs among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy needs us, whether it wants to admit it or not. She straightened, every inch the Admiral despite her injuries. When this is over, the quarantine ends. Earth joins the galactic community as equals, or we walk our own path. But we will never again be caged. The council chamber was silent. Then, slowly, Elder Thomal bowed his ancient head. So be it, he said. When this is over, if we survive, humanity will take its rightful place among us, not as the monsters we feared, but as the saviors we needed. 3 days later, Admiral Helena Chen piloted a single ship into the heart of the Void Nexus, carrying with her humanity's ultimate weapon and the future of the galaxy. The flash when the dimensional inversion bomb detonated was visible across 12 systems, a star's death cry that heralded the end of the Void Striders. And as the enemy drones fell silent across space, as celebration erupted on countless worlds, a new era began. Humanity, feared for millennia, stepped out from their solar system, not as conquerors, but as the shield the galaxy never knew it needed. The species everyone had feared had become the guardians everyone would remember. The quarantine was lifted. The stars belonged to all, protected by the most unlikely allies of all. Humans, the storm unleashed.